Hi there, and welcome to a book launch livecast. I am Everett O'Keefe. I'm the founder of Ignite Press, and it is my honor to do this book launch livecast and bring to you really a fantastic author. You are really going to enjoy this time, and we'll be talking about Wendy Whitlinger in just a second. Now, here at Ignite Press, we specialize in helping people bring their messages to the world through the medium of books, and a medium that has been tried and true for thousands of years. And if you have a manuscript that you've been working on, or one that's ready to go, or even just a concept that you know you need a book for your business or your brand, just reach out to us. You can find us at ignitepress.us. That's ignitepress.us. All right, so now let us get to the main event. And by the way, as we're talking with Wendy today, if you have any comments, type them in the chat log. If you have questions, type them in the chat log, and then I will do my best to pass them on to Wendy during this time. So you can support her in that way and also ask any questions in that way. So Wendy Whitlinger is the author of Train to Gain, Building Your Mental Muscle. And I'll tell you, once you hear about her life experiences, you are going to want to pay attention. So let's get her in here. Wendy, how are you today?
Everett, I'm great. Thank you for having me. And thank you for publishing my book.
Oh, my goodness, my pleasure. And it's been a joy to work with you. And this day, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here for you and your book. Now I've got some questions for you, and the audience may have some questions for you. So we're going to dive in. But first, I figured it would be good for people to get to know you. So tell us a bit about who you are.
Well, personally, I'm wife to Mike Jurgensen. I'm mom to 3 daughters, Melissa, Meredith, and Megan. I'm stepmom to Jody, Michelle, and Kristen. And I'm Grammy to 14 grandkids.
Hey, all right.
Who play 11 different sports.
Oh, boy.
Professionally, I'm a teacher and a coach, which I feel I was always meant to do. I'm a speaker to teams, and I've spoken at clinics and conferences, including the United States Professional Tennis World Conference. And as of today, because of you and Ignite Press, I'm a published author.
Oh, fantastic, Wendy. I'll tell you what, we're excited that you're an author. I understand sports are a little bit in your background. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background?
Oh, I sure can. Everett, sports has always been a part of my life. I come from a family accomplished in athletics and academics. My dad was the 1936 captain of the Ohio State basketball team. And the interesting story about my dad is that baseball and basketball were the sports that he excelled in, but he developed national champions in the sport of tennis. Then my brother Kip, my older brother Kip, had the individual scoring record at his high school, Xavier, in Appleton, Wisconsin, for 55 years. And that was before the 3-point shots. But he had it for 55 years before it was broken. And he is number 3 on the all-time list of great basketball players in the Fox Valley. Then my younger brother, John, won 4 consecutive high school state tennis championships in singles with a record of 109 wins and 0 losses.
Wow.
Then in 1974, he went to Stanford, and playing for Stanford won the Triple Crown. He won singles, doubles, and team, which is quite an accomplishment. My 3 daughters all played Division I tennis. Megan at Miami of Ohio, Meredith at Ohio State, and Melissa started at Tennessee before she transferred to Wisconsin, where she won 85% of her matches, led the team to the Big Ten Conference Championships, and in 2014 was inducted into the University of Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame. All of my nieces and nephews, except one, were Division I tennis players. And that one,
Incredible.
our academic all-star. She's a PhD in sociology. Now, Everett, my playing accomplishments pale by comparison. My greatest achievements were as a coach. And as a coach, the first thing I always tried to do was to get my students to like the sport and then maybe even love the sport. The next thing I tried to do was to build a foundation, a solid foundation, physically and mentally, because I knew if I helped them build a solid foundation, they could keep improving and they would have success. The third thing I always did was to try and get them to maximize their potential and become the best that they were able to become. And finally, I wanted them to feel the success of accomplishing their goals.
Okay, now you've I'm just blown away. I'm just listening to you come from a family of achievers, and you have also created a family of achievers. It's really incredible. I'm listening to that and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's really impressive. Now, also, you've had the chance to coach some pretty amazing competitors too. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, over the years, I've worked with a lot of great, great kids, and some of them had great, great success. One of the girls I coached became an NCAA singles champion. I coached a girl who was Big Ten Player of the Year, another who was Big Ten Freshman of the Year. I coached one who was Interscholastic Tennis Association Senior Player of the Year. I coached lots of Ohio and Wisconsin high school state singles and doubles champions. And a lot of the kids became scholar athletes.
Okay, incredible. So tell us about, you decided to write this book, Train to Gain. In fact, let me do this real quick. Everybody, Train to Gain is available now on Amazon. You can pick it up there. For the Kindle is on a special launch price of 99 cents. And the paperback is there as well. And by the way, this is a great book to gift because anybody who is involved in athletics or really in competition of any kind, and quite frankly, we're all involved in competition at one level or another, will find this book really, really valuable. So Train to Gain at Amazon. So why did you decide to write this book, Wendy?
Well, Everett, I do have to tell you that most of what I've done in my life has been influenced and inspired by my father. I know the impact that Dad had on us kids and his entire family. I know the impact he had on those he coached. He trained champions, and I kind of wanted to do the same. I watched how Dad coached, and he worked really hard to develop physical skills, but he also was a master of mental training. Dad was way ahead of his time. Right now, everybody talks about mental toughness and mental training in sports. Dad did it long years and years ago. He would go over to the barn in Neenah, Wisconsin, and give his students their physical lesson, and work on their physical skills. Then, because we lived right around the corner, he would have them come home with him. They'd go sit in his den and they would talk mental training. They would do their mental training and talk about mental toughness. So as I said, he was way ahead of his time. So my book was kind of inspired by him. I also, because of the environment that I grew up in and because of being involved in sports, I really understood the need for mental training, the value of, and the necessity of mental toughness. I think I had my aha moment when I went to Kalamazoo, Michigan to watch my brother John play in the USTA National Championships. I was watching the field of players warming up. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, they're all really strong. They're all really quick. They all have great physical skills. And then I thought to myself, what makes the difference between those that lose first round and those that get to the quarter semis and finals? And my aha moment was those that made it to the quarter semis and finals were those that had a combination of physical skills or physical talent and mental toughness. I also saw a need in our world of competitive sports. In order to develop, in order to survive, and in order to thrive, mental toughness is essential. In the competitive world, as you say, of anything, there are pressures, there are expectations, and I felt that my experience would help others to develop coping skills so that they could turn any adversity or challenge into an opportunity to grow and get better. And as my dad said, it does no good to keep your knowledge to yourself. You need to share it. So that's basically why I wrote the book.
It's so interesting. You talk about your dad, practicing in the barn and then coming back and sitting down and going through mental exercises. I think back when I was an athlete, and swimming competitively, and it would be that pre-visualization of, okay, I'm on the block, I'm getting ready to start. Here's the gun, I'm leaping, I'm flying, that type of thing. And I didn't make much of it then, but I was only a high school kid. So what did I know? But that whole, the mental part of the game, and I could see where your dad was really way ahead of it when everyone else is just working on, on the physical aspects of it. Now, who did you write Train to Gain for? Who did you have in mind when you sat down to write this?
Well, when I started to write this book, I wrote it for athletes. I wrote it for parents. I wrote it for coaches. I wrote it for athletic directors, teachers, administrators. I wanted to make this book an easy read, but a very impactful read. I also, Everett, designed it as a workbook so it could facilitate mental training.
Excellent. And does this indeed have a broader reach? Does this go beyond? Because like I see this and I think that we're all competing at one level or another in something, whether it's business or life or parenting or who knows what, but does this reach beyond sports?
Oh, it sure does. The messages the book has are really for all, because mental toughness traits are important for all areas of our life. And I'll give you two examples which thrilled me when I read them. Actually, one of your editors, after she worked on my book, sent me a note saying that even though she was a very non-athlete, the tips and tools that I shared were going to help her in her profession. And then I was touched because a high school classmate, Rob, bought my book and read it and sent me a note saying he was going to share it with a friend of his because he thought it would help her deal with her Parkinson's. So that made me understand even more fully that the book has messages for all. And so, yes, it has a broader reach. So whether you're an athlete or not, The message is in Train to Gain, building your mental muscle, apply to you.
That's excellent. Now, I'd like to dive into some of the content of the book and some of the lessons that you share there. So let's start. Let's talk. What are some of the things that you would like to see your readers get out of the book?
Well, first of all, I want them to get out of this book that the mind is the most powerful organ in the human body. All commands come from the mind before the body responds. I want them to get from the book how the mind functions. And I do it simplistically because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I want them to understand how the mind works and how it can really help you or it can really hurt you. I want them to understand the mental toughness traits that outstanding competitors and outstanding individuals have. I want them to get tools and get tips so that they can develop their skills. I want them to be inspired by the stories I share in the book. And I want them ultimately, after reading the book, to harness the power of their mind to achieve personal success.
Now, you talk about stories. I would love for you, is there a story from your book that you would like to relate to us? Is there a favorite lesson there that you would want to share?
I guess the lesson that I want to share is that you are only as strong as your mind lets you be. With a strong mind, you have passion. You are optimistic. You set goals. You work hard. You focus. You are resilient. And you persevere. And I think a lot of what I have in the book is stories of perseverance where people started with a goal and it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen easily, but because of resilience and perseverance, they accomplished their goals. And I think with the power of your mind, with a strong mind, you have that personal satisfaction that you did your best to be your best. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I do have to say, though, that it takes time. There's no quick and easy. And it's up to the individual person. You know, you can read my book, you can get the tips and tools, you can understand, but it's up to you to make it happen.
All right. Now, there was a section of your book that I found intriguing that I wanted to share with people and have you comment on when you talk about facing fears. And so you're quoting Customato who says, "Fear is your best friend or your worst enemy. It's like fire. If you can control it, it can cook for you. It can heat your house. If you can't control it, it will burn everything around you and destroy you." How does this apply? Let's talk about fear when it comes to competition.
Well, actually, I have seen players who have what I call performance anxiety. And it's because they fear that something bad is going to happen, that they're going to lose or something bad is going to happen. You know, like one day, one of the players was going to have a challenge match. And she was walking toward the court and saw this opponent and began to fear losing. Well, that day, that person did lose. I also, as I said, I've seen some a really severe performance anxiety where a young player who was very capable and competent began to fear losing or fear that something bad would happen. And fear actually can paralyze a person. And through long, hard work, and it's not easy, that person went back to play collegiate tennis. So fear, as I said, in its most extreme form can actually paralyze a person. And Everett, it's because people start fearing what they think could happen instead of focusing on their performance and what they want to have happen.
Okay. And
So a lot of times it's fear of an outcome, fear of an outcome.
Now, you also in your book, you've got an analogy of a stoplight. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Oh, this is a great one. The stoplight is one, and it's not mine. I took it from Dr. Ravisa, who said, or Ken Ravisa, who used a stoplight to talk about mindset. And it's fantastic. He talks about green, yellow, and red. Green in a stoplight indicates go. In sport, if you are green to go, you are calm, you are confident, you are optimistic, you are focused, you are determined, you are ready to go. If you slip into yellow, when it's on a stoplight means that you slow down and you hesitate. In sport, it's you become hesitant because something has happened to, make you confused or to impact your confidence. It could be a bad shot. It could be a double fault. It could be a loss of a point, a game, a set, a match, whatever. And you slip into yellow. If you slip into yellow, you need to push yourself back up into green. You never want to slip into red. As we know, red in a stoplight in a stoplight means to stop. In sport, it means that you quit because you become frustrated, you become emotional, you kind of lose hope. And so you never want to slip into red. And I tell all of my students that a loss is not a failure. The only true failure, Everett, is the failure to try. So if you try and if you lose, that is not a failure. Because remember, losing just is an opportunity. It's not a failure. I don't have failure in my dictionary. It is a learning opportunity. Great coach Vince Lombardi also said, quitters never win and winners never quit. So again, the stoplight analogy is a fantastic, simplistic analogy, the best I've ever seen when you want to talk about mindset.
Yeah, it's funny. You just made me think of, I remember a quote, and I want to say I heard it from Derek Carr, the quarterback for the Saints. He grew up here in the Central Valley and played at Fresno State, which I can see out my window. And I think one time he was saying, one of the things as a quarterback you have to have a very short memory. And I was like, wait a minute. And it was that whole thing of, you threw the interception or you missed the pass, though you missed the wide open pass, let's just say, 35 seconds later, you got to do another play. Maybe it's not 35 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever it is, but you've got to do another play. You've got to put that one behind you, and you've got to do that next play without thinking about, oh, I can't believe I missed that wide open guy, a minute ago, that type of thing. And so that was like, when you said the yellow light, I think of that player who's got that failure. They start to lodge that failure in the head. Oh, I better not throw this ball because I can't throw another interception. And they're more worried about throwing the interception than executing the thing they've trained for years and years and years to do. That's it. I don't know. That one just kind of.
Well, no, and I totally agree with that, because you have to be resilient in tennis, after every point, really after every hit, after every point, after every set, after every match, because I tell them, you can never go back and redo that shot or replay that game or have that opportunity again. You need to look forward and concentrate on what's important now. And that's what you're doing right now. Not looking in the past. You don't want to look in the past because you can't go back there. You can only learn from that experience. I always use the triple L. You look at it, you learn from it, you let it go, and you move on.
Yeah, excellent. Now, Wendy, how do I know that you speak around the nation to teams and to organizations about the mental mindset and about the muscle of the brain as it applies to sports. What is the best way for people to reach you?
They can contact me at traintobetough@gmail.com.
All right, let me get that into the chat log here. So they've got that. Put that there. Excellent. Well, and on that note, let me remind people that the book is available right now. You can get it on Amazon, where the Kindle version is on a special launch price of 99 cents. And grab this copy today. Grab a copy as a gift for others. Now, I don't know if people can see this. In fact, let me pull up a different image of the cover. Let's see if it's easier to see. You and I were talking the other day about how this cover came about and how all these different sports are reflected in this cover. And you were talking about your grandkids play a crazy number of sports. And tell me about how that relates to what we're seeing on this cover.
Well, Everett, when I had my cover contest, there were an incredible number of great covers. But this one seemed to make most sense because I wanted this to be a book that reached all athletes in all sports. And this was the design that came up, which I absolutely love. I did have them change a couple things because there was no lacrosse ball. And I had them add a lacrosse ball because I've got grandsons that play lacrosse. And then I had them add pickleball because pickleball is a sport that is very popular right now. And in fact, the woman who as a collegiate won the NCAA singles crown is in 2023 was the senior women's pickleball player of the year. So I thought the cover was perfect for what I wanted to project, and that's the power of the mind, the importance of building your mental muscle for all sports.
And I think that you had pointed out that I think that we got every sport that your grandkids play somehow is in that
exactly
in that there, which is pretty incredible. And yeah, pickleball, right? The number I've heard it's the fastest growing sport. I happen to be a disc golf player, and that's been growing like crazy. It's amazing to watch all of it. Well, Wendy, it has been a delight to have you here today. Thank you for sharing your story and some of the lessons from your book. It is exciting to watch this go forward, and we'll be excited to see how the book works for you and for others in the future.
Well, and Everett, I'm hoping that people will buy the Kindle, and it gives them the opportunity to preview the book. And then I'm hoping actually that they will buy a print copy because it's a workbook, and it will be an opportunity. It facilitates mental training for an individual or for a coach or for an athletic director to his coaches. So I hope that they will, buy the Kindle version today and then like what they read.
Excellent. Wendy, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Everett. Thank you for all you've done.
Thanks.